All right. Okay, let's just get this rolling. Do me a favor, can you just give me a glass of water as well, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Done. Post. All right, let's start this. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. All praises are due to Allah, the Almighty, the one and only, who created man and woman from a clot of blood, and man from a clot of blood, women from the rib of man. Subhanallah, we have been united the way Allah wants us to be united, bringing man and women together in a proper fashion, inshallah. And we're going to be talking about family life and marriage. Just want to do a quick big up to the people who have been WhatsApping me and saying, "Is the show on? We can't hear you. We can't get connected." I do apologize. I had to put my kids to sleep today, and they were really clinging on to me, and it's hard to sometimes let them go. Hey, daddy's got to go and do some work now, inshallah. I'm going to be taken out on a special trip tomorrow. You know, it might sound wrong, they'll be bunking school, but it has to be done. Why am I saying that? But before I say that, I want to quickly do a big up to Sister Sophia from Bradford. We've got Zaberia from Leeds. We've got Sister Halima as well from Bradford, who are just WhatsApping and keeping us up to date. Just to say Jazakallah here for your show. Hopefully, and they're the three sisters that we want to really help, inshallah, get married, as well as many other sisters in the local apologies for that, in the local community who want to get married, who need to get married, and it's our duty as men to look after them, inshallah. Maybe people listen to today's show might know somebody, they might know of a good guy, because these are three fantastic girls, sisters of Islam. So maybe we might know of a good brother who is hardworking, who's able to provide and support for a sisters in need. They want to get married, they want to live aside a single life and become real men and complete half of their deen and get married, have children. Now, talking about children, like I mentioned earlier on, my kids can't go to school tomorrow. Why is Ibrahim Dar not sending his kids to school? Everybody should be sending their kids to school. There is never an excuse to bunk school. But I'm going to need your help today, okay? Because I'm a new parent. Well, not new, but you know, you're one of those parents that are putting your children into school in an environment that is anti-Islam, or is un-Islamic, should we say. And it makes me feel very uncomfortable to see my children going to sing songs at the time of Christmas to say Jesus is the Son of God, or we're going to be part of a play. It's called a nativity play, and I'm going to play Jesus, or I'm going to play Mary, or I'm going to play the three kings. And why are you going to be doing that, son, daughter? Because did you not know Jesus was born on so and so day, and we're going to celebrate Christmas? And I'm thinking to them, but it's wrong. We as Muslims, or forget the right and wrong stuff, because they're too young to understand that. So sometimes you divert the topic to, but we as Muslims, we don't believe that. Okay. My auntie gave me advice, and she said, just tell your kids, give good companionship with your children, and tell them what you believe in, what they are supposed to believe in. Yes, they might get involved with it in school, but at least at home, if the household is strong at home, then the kids are not going to bother. I think about it, and I look at my friends also said to me, Ibi, you know, when we were young, I probably still remember the songs off by heart. You know, Kumbaya, my Lord, Holy Child, If I Had a Hammer. We can just start going about lots of different hymns that we used to sing when we were little. The damaging effect, and they said, but did we become Christian or anything like that? Obviously we didn't, but I told them one thing: it did affect us in a way that you not in a direct way, in an indirect way. We have been affected. We have been affected because we now like singing their songs. We like singing songs which could have been shirk. We from singing one type of song, you can go on to like different types of other music and songs. Some of us become therefore very addicted. You know, if you're one of those Muslims who are trying to raise your children up into a household and not to become heavily influenced by music, you know, now you're pushing them in towards the music scene and say, but we Muslims don't believe in it. But you go ahead and sing, and you go ahead and be part of all that dance and stuff. You know, the teachers are telling my kids today, come on, tomorrow we're gonna boogie. And my daughter's like, what is boogie? And you know, how can a daughter, 5 years old, be the odd one out in a class where everybody is wearing, you know, and it's you dress up day tomorrow, so everybody's gonna be dressing up tomorrow and dancing to the music, having a nice party. It's 95% a population of Muslims. I feel so pressurized. I feel so unease because it feels like I'm trying to bring my children up in one way. I want to teach them Islam, but the pressure of non-Islam hits our children and it affects them. Mate, but then I look at the reality. I look around me. I look at the majority of the people around us in this dunya, in this country, and let's be honest with ourselves. A lot of us as Muslims have adopted Western, liberal, secular values in ourselves. We don't turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for problems, solution to our problems. We turn to the laws of man. We turn to democracy. We go to our MPs for help. We don't go to Allah for help. We go to our MPs for help. That's what we do when we're struggling and we're going through difficulties. You know, we talk about freedom, we talk about choice, we talk about integration, we talk about our rights, but we're always using the Western terminology. We have forgotten the Islamic roots, the Islamic terminology. So many of the people out there have a very good heart. They want to do very good for the community, but instead of going to on the path of Allah for solutions to the problems they face, we're going on the path of kufr, the path of disbelief, because that is what is dominant around us. That is what is presented around us, and we feel that this is the most accurate or best steps in order to move forward. That's how we feel, you know, and we think that because we live in their country, well, it's our country as well. This definition of whose country is it is a separate debate. I'm born here, you know. I ain't a Pakistani. I ain't a full Brazilian. I'm a mixed race, you know. I don't speak Urdu. I don't speak Portuguese. What am I? I'm born in this country, so I would say this is my country, in that sense. But all it means is that I am used to the way of life around me. But that doesn't mean I accept it. Just like many Pakistanis are born in Pakistan, they don't accept the nonsense of the corruption they live in. They flee, they leave it because they don't agree with it, and they can't change it. If you try to make a change in those countries, they kill you. Here, they don't kill you, so you try to make a change. Um, I'm one of those people who like to be following the footsteps of the prophets of Allah. When they saw problems, they didn't run away to go to another country. They stayed in that country. They stayed in that land to fix up, even if they were the minority. Wasn't Prophet Noor the minority? 950 years he was given dawah, and only about 50 people accepted Islam. Give and take 10, 20. 950 years giving dawah, and only about 50 people accepted Islam. Imagine that. That's tough, man. Prophet Musa was born in the house of Pharaoh. You know, that's like us lot being born in the houses of parliament, you know, raised up by the queen and the king and having all those servants around us. And then you start cussing the system of democracy. You start cussing capitalism. And you tell the kings and the queens and say, look, I know you looked after me. I know you were nice to me. I know you raised me up, but I don't believe in what you lot believe in. I believe in Allah and His Messenger. Now, there's other people out there in the community that are poor. Those are my people. I want to hang around with them, and we want to go in a private place where we can worship our Lord Allah. And the Queen of England and David Cameron are like, what? We ain't having that. You can't go around practicing your Lord. I am your Lord. We make the laws of this land, not your Lord. We make the laws of the land, i.e., democracy and Sharia. No, that's how the game is. We make the laws. That's what Musa said. I am your Lord. You know, you wouldn't accept another power being other than him. He wouldn't accept Allah as Lord. He said he was the God. He said he was the Lord. He said that he can take away life and death and bring about life and take life. And that was the arrogance they had. And we've faced so many similar examples. We face these difficulties, we face in these trials. So we have the right to stay in any country around the world and we speak the truth. And that's the important thing, is about being able to speak the truth, brothers and sisters. Because if we don't speak the truth, how on earth are the non-Muslims ever going to appreciate and understand and even become Muslim if they don't know the truth? I know a brother, a friend of mine, he said, I was searching for the truth. I went to university in London and never did ever people ever invited me to Islam. I went past a mosque, people were handing out leaflets. And there was an event going on, and the brother told me, come to the event. That's how I found out about Islam. But the people in my classroom, the people around me at university never ever invited me towards Islam. You know, and I wanted to know the truth, and I was angry when I did become a Muslim, because I could have became a Muslim a lot more earlier. But Alhamdulillah, I became Muslim, he said. But that's the point. We're missing out all of those opportunities to engage with the wider society. How many times have we spoke to the non-Muslims at work about Islam? What kind of example have we set? You know, sometimes, you know, to show our differences is a good thing. You know, to show that, no, me as a Muslim, I don't believe in this. I don't hang around with people who drink alcohol. I don't hang around with people who are having boyfriends and girlfriends. I don't hang around with people who take drugs, even though I'm not doing it myself. But to be in that environment is forbidden for me. To be in an environment of Christmas. Let's quickly talk about Christmas, right? Because we can freestyle to lots of different topics, but the reason I want to talk about it, and today's topic is more about family and children, okay, because we have a lot of sisters that have been calling in previous shows. They are divorced. Many people listen to today's show have children, and sometimes these are topics that can cause friction. Many couples get divorced because of the children, especially when mother and father disagree on a matter. I'll give you an example. I know a guy, he's an uncle, and he didn't want his kids going out and about all the time, and he wouldn't give his kids money because they would splash it and do mess around. So when the kids wanted money, they would go to mummy. Now mummy used to nick money from the dad's pocket and give it to the children, and their sons used to go out and messing around with the girls and the women in the clubs, sometimes drinking alcohol. But the mother just wanted the children to have fun and enjoy life. So she would nick money from the husband's pocket, give it to the son would go out and splash the money. These are just examples of how a wife would disobey her husband in order to please her children, because she wants to see her children happy. Then the kids love the mother, hate the dad. Dad's the strict one. Dad's the boring one. Now the guy is trying to sort out his damn household. Now it's his wife that is the obstacle here in this situation. His wife is the one that is allowing all the nonsense to take place. Why? Because she doesn't want to see her children sad. She doesn't want to see her children upset. She says, I trust my children. I trust you. Now here's 20 quid. Don't go around messing around, okay? Don't go around messing around. The husband's like, what are you doing? Didn't I not tell you? He's lost control of his son. His son does whatever he wants to do, and he hasn't even got support from his spouse. Eventually, they end up getting divorced, His daughter now has just got married to a Sikh guy. He is heartbroken. He's actually gone and left the country. He just said, "Look, everything in this country is finished for me. I got married second time. My wife passed away. My son is married to a Christian girl who detests Islam, who loves my son but detests Islam. Made it very clear she doesn't want to become a Muslim. Eating and pork, drinking alcohol, you know. And now his daughter is going out with a Sikh guy. When Nat has actually gone and married him. They wanted us to go to the wedding, and we said no, but in a nice way. But we told her, a girl can't be going around marrying a Sikh guy. This is haram. You don't even have your father's blessings, obviously. And the response was very simple. If you don't come to my wedding, then I'm never ever going to talk to you ever again. They say that to my sister, and I'm like, my sister, you're doing right. You're doing right. Don't go. If this girl is your friend, she would have understood, respected your opinion, and would have left it to that. But you cannot go, because you going means you are accepting the wrong that the person is doing. Okay? And I hear, and there's loads of other crazy stories that go on out there. So having a very important family household, brothers and sisters, is important. Parents to build good relationship with your children is important. Now, I spoke to the deputy head of her school, an English lady, and she said, "My son is 6 years old and I'm worried." She's a deputy head of a state school here, an English lady. She is worried because the environment that children are growing up. She knows that she's not going to teach her children to become bad kids, to swear, to be violent, but she knows that the environment and society is so dominating and strong. It's only a matter of time when the kids pick these things up. No matter what you do in your household, the kids will be affected by their environment. The question is, will they be able to go through these challenges? Will they be able to go through these hardships and difficulties? How do you know your children are going to be safe? We hear the stories all the time. Dads forcing hijabs on girls, putting them into Islamic schools, and to the boys. And we see them smoking it up, hiding, smoking drugs, sometimes selling it inside the Islamic schools. Girls, I don't want to get involved in certain rumors, but in boarding schools, but at least girls, we know that they have their understanding of the deen is, first of all, very, very weak. um and a lot of it is to do with culture. A lot of it has to do with culture that plays a negative influence on a child's upbringing. And then a father would then turn around thinking, why you kids are like this? I tried to put you into an Islamic school. Now, this is why I like the Arab culture a lot of the time. The brothers who are practicing amongst the Arabs, they don't like to do things out of force. They do things out of love. What I mean by that is, like, if you can't become a Hafiz of Quran, they don't get the stick to beat you up. They teach you out of love. They teach you with care. They are firm and serious, but they do teach you with a lot of care. They don't try to rush you to become Hafiz of Quran in 2 years. Sometimes it's going to take a lot longer, but at least you eventually become Hafiz of Quran. Um, there's a lot of love in the tarbiyah. So they'll teach you to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not you drumming it in your head that you better like Allah, otherwise, you're gonna go hellfire, and put all the fear tactics into individuals straight away. So there's different ways you can do things in order to upbring and develop your family. But regardless of all of that, we are all going to go through that very scary patch. I know sheikhs in London, big time sheikhs in London, they are very worried about their children. Some of them have lost control, especially the ones who have so many responsibilities for the community. They have done the best for the children, but You're roaming through the streets of Bradford, you're roaming through the streets of London. You are surrounded by pubs and clubs and boys and girls. You know, a boy is trying to look away, but he's got girls saying hiya with the short mini skirts or tight fitted jeans and, you know, revealing tops, very tight. Um, you know, and they're sitting next to you in class. You know, they're part of your classroom clique. How are you supposed to turn away from all of this? We all know how it was back in the days in school. We all know exactly what goes on in school. It's getting worse every single year. It ain't getting better. You understand? So you're gonna go as a parent through that nightmare of thinking, I need to be there for my children. I need to be able to protect my children. Pepsi, no fizzy. May Allah bless you. I'm on a diet. Okay, may Allah bless All About Radio. I can't drink fizzy drinks, man. I'm on a diet, man. We need to become strong. We need to become fit. We need to become healthy, you know. And even though it might be tempting, we need to learn to say no. And I believe that if we can control enough on our food, then we can control everything, especially us men. For men, food is our weakness as well as women. But if we can control our diet and we can control our food, I think we'll be able to control a lot more things. It's only taken me a week ago or 2 weeks ago to become very strong on my diet controlling. Um, and I'm 32 years old, you know. So maybe, inshallah, I'll become better in any other difficulties that I'll face in my life. Now, brothers and sisters, children, if you've got any advice about your children topics, please do call in today's show. Um, I hate when my Wi-Fi goes off. Because yeah, you can text me as well, inshallah. WhatsApp me if you want on 0788 6624 888. That's 0788 6624 888. I believe the YouTube link might not be working. I want to see if I can get somebody to have a quick look at the YouTube link. An error occurred. Please try again later, is what it says on the YouTube link. Jazakallah here. I'll have a look at that. Come back on internet temporarily as I'm driving. Okay. So, brothers and sisters, we're going to be talking about children. If you've got any advice on children, just to YouTube, check your WhatsApp. We're going to be talking about children, inshallah, talking about bringing our families together. If you've got any advice that you'll be able to give to me, please do so. A big shout out to Sister Halima or Sophia. Sister Halima is a counselor. We are hoping that she's going to be able to come onto our show more often to discuss problems that you sisters may be facing, especially with your husbands, with your children, stress about marriage, how to overcome issues, and general family advice. And Sister Sophia is one of the sisters that do those home visits. You know, when you have a baby and people are going to come and check up on this kid when they're 1, 2, 3 years old. That's what she does with the childcare. She has good skills on how to educate your children, how to develop a stronger relationship with your children, inshallah. They've done a lot of these courses. You know, I always advise people to seek advice and help from the people who have got as much knowledge in this field. Some people learn from experience, but when you do a course or you speak to somebody in that particular field, you're able to get some good advice because they've studied and they've looked at lots of different options in their small number of years. They have done some studying. They go through training, so that's always a benefit to listen to what they have to say. It doesn't mean that what they say will always be right. Every individual has certain households, you know, just different realities, different experiences. However, I believe a lot of it can be of beneficial, good help. I don't know too much. I need always advice. I do call up people sometimes for help. And I think it's something that we should all do. And I'm stressing out at the moment. I'm stressing out about my children participating in the plays. Am I being too overprotective? Am I putting pressure on them? Is it going to be making them feel uncomfortable and confused that everybody's having a great fun time in school and they're going to be partying with cakes and sweets and they can dress up and they're singing songs and it looks so nice, it looks so exciting. But brothers and sisters, this is how they want to try to win over your family. This is how they want to win over your children. It starts from the young age. They're not going to be able to do it at the younger age, but when we allow it to happen, we are not able to draw that line. And later on in life, come on, we see it all the time. Our daughters, the majority of them in UK do not cover up. Majority of them do wear skin tight clothes. The majority of them do not wear the hijab. That is the truth at the end of the day. And they are going to parties, they are going to clubs, they are going to work parties, and people are drinking alcohol. And this is the beginning steps of fitna. In Islam, we are told to keep away from the root cause problem of zina, meaning it's not just stop doing zina, it's anything that leads towards zina. You stop it from the root cause problem. So that means you're not even talking to your opposite sex. You don't talk to them. There is no need to talk to the opposite gender. Alright? So this is the stages in life that people have to go through. And for now, I'm looking at my daughter and I want her, I need to protect her in the future. I need to set my foundation straight and stronger from the beginning, inshallah, and then push it up, move it forward. Just before we go on to any more calls that might come in, the number to call is 01924 The number is 01924 472 You can also text or WhatsApp 07868 That's the Al Mubarak number. Or you can text my number on 0788 6624 We'd like to hear your calls on these topics of marriage in general, specifically if you can on children and raising and upbringing children. If you've got any information you'd like to share about that, we would love to hear from you. Or if you can or if you can or if you want to talk generally about marriage, if you're looking for a partner, you're looking to get married, this is the time to give me your details so we can increase our database and maybe we might have somebody for you already, inshallah. Just a quick reminder, we have a 27-year-old girl, a single mother in Bradford, looking to get married, ideally a tall man. We have a 32-year-old girl from a Pathan background, preferably a Pathan husband, again to be tall. She is also a single mother with one child. Um, the first girl has a 5-year-old girl, the second one has, I think, a 10-year-old girl. We also have two sisters in Leeds who are divorced, about 29 and 30 years old, the two of them. They don't have any children, I believe, or one of them might have one child, the other one doesn't have any children, but they're divorced in Leeds looking to get married. We have a convert brother from London who's looking for an Indian wife, preferably, or a convert to Islam. He is 32 years old, turning 33. Um, he's been a convert for about 2-3 years, alhamdulillah, and he's a good man. He's about 6'3", 6'4". Again, looking preferably. Oh yeah, that he's looking for a single lady, maybe a divorcee with no children, or a single lady who's interested in her Islam as well. We have, and he's an Indian convert. We've got a brother who's half Iranian, half Colombian. Again, 32 years old. He'll be 33 in about March time, and he is a small guy, probably about 5.5 foot, and so 5'6", 5'5", 5'6", half Iranian, half Colombian. He's been a convert for about 7 years now, alhamdulillah. Practicing brother, speaks Spanish, and he is looking for preferably a convert girl or very simple girl, inshallah. Um, okay, I believe we might have a call coming in now on the radio, inshallah. Okay, hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sister. How you doing?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. I was kind of confused. I thought the topic was kids, but that's fine.
No, the topic is kids. I'm just doing a little shout out as a reminder to some of our audience of what they're just some of the people who are looking to get married. But Bismillah, if we can go on straight about the children, that would be fantastic. How can you help us today?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out the importance of, obviously we all understand that it's difficult bringing kids up, especially in this day and age. So I think that's kind of understatement actually. But I just also wanted to emphasize the importance of anyone dealing with kids, whether it's parents or teachers, the importance of setting boundaries for children.
Okay, Bismillah. Can we talk about what? Can you highlight some of the difficulties that we are facing today with children? So, what is your background, by the way? What is your background?
Yeah, that's kind of a broad question. I don't know where to touch on that. I think we just live in a time where people don't treat family life and the family structure the way they used to. To an extent, it's a lot better because back in the days you had parents who didn't really get along, but they still stayed in a relationship which turned toxic and it wasn't good for children. But what I mean to say is they thought very carefully about commitment, etc. And we live in a world where I think relationships are taken very lightly, not seriously. You hear people getting married and a few months down the line they divorce. So either the world is full of psychopaths and crazy people, which I don't think is the case, or what's happening is people are just jumping into relationships thinking they're in Disneyland. Or then another likelihood is how people are not really committing and they're not willing to make a few sacrifices for marriage. And I don't mean being passive in any way, but I just mean being assertive, forgiving a bit and taking a bit and just kind of not giving up as easily. So I mean, you could blame that on the media, you know, you could blame it on society, whatever. But yeah, and I think kids being brought up in this time with all this going on is difficult, and then not to forget the identity crisis. So naturally, this is hard for parents communicating, and we need to realize that what worked for us when we were kids isn't going to work for our kids.
Why do you think that?
It's all about taking into account our communication style and everything else that's happening around, and to kind of look at it from a child's perspective. So yeah, just putting ourselves in their feet.
Why is it, do you think it's different from the time before when we were young to today's time now?
Generally, there's always new challenges, different things going on. And one example, there's so many. One example is, well, a lot of us, personally speaking, my parents were brought up here, so that's number one, is the culture difference. But even putting that to the side, it's the fact that we live in a society. And okay, another example is when we were kids, we were exposed to different things. I don't know when you watch the movies, you know, that they weren't as bad as they are now. I'm going to have to just put this generally, but I think a lot of people know. I mean, like nowadays, even the movies that are rated for like 16-year-olds, you look at them and you think, I wouldn't watch that as an adult, you know. So there's no concept of modesty, number one. Society is just going downhill. But I think there's a lot of access, and there's like, for example, there's social media, that's another one, depending on how you look at it. So people are preferring to be online a lot more than actually spending time with their families. So all these things really contribute to how we relate with each other. And you know, they're just a few things that I'm just gonna have to put lightly, so I don't end up rambling.
No, that's very true, Jazakallah. Carry on.
Yeah, so they're the main things. I mean, obviously there's a lot more things. Like I said, the family dynamics are changing a lot more. People come from different families, and children are struggling. I work with children and their emotional needs, and a lot of kids are coming from broken families. And the issue isn't about your parents divorcing at all. That's a normal thing. It happens. You know, we break up. But the thing is how it's all handled. Some kids come from a family where the parents are split up, where there's a lot of anger, resentment, there's a lot of blame game going on. The body feels it's their fault. You know, the kid doesn't know how to handle these emotions. So there's a lot going on there that we need to take into account.
sister, what is your background, may I ask?
My background, well, I have a degree in Islamic theology and counseling and psychology.
Fantastic, alhamdulillah. So, sister, quick advice. Somebody has text in. It's a different topic, but since you're a sister with an Islamic background as well, maybe you might be able to help. He asked, "What should we do to help our women cover up?" This is probably a father that wants to give advice to his daughter or to his mother or to his wife as well. Um, how can we help our women to cover up?
I think making them get back in touch with their identity. A lot of times when people, especially when, let's look at why people don't dress modestly in the first place. I think, okay, it's society as well. But we need to bear in mind that the time of the Sahaba, their society wasn't perfect either. So they had similar struggles. We just assume that because we live in this time in England, or it's so hard for us. But, you know, it was hard for the Sahabas too. So I think a lot of it is about kind of creating this mentality where our youth are more resilient in terms of they're not very passive about their identities. So just because one minute you see people, one minute they're with this crew and crowd, the next minute they're with the next crowd, and it's like where's this sense of identity? And I think that's the key issue. That's the main reason why we easily give in to peer pressure, etc., and a sense of lack of respect for our own selves. So I think it needs to be gradual. So, you know, if someone's not dressing up, you know, going and buying them a burqa, you know, and a massive hijab and whatever it is, the whole kit, it's not going to help. You freak the person out. So I think it's just gradually making a few changes, like encouraging, for example, the sisters to start wearing a long skirt or a blouse, and, you know, just few little changes, and the kind of people we hang out with have a great impact. You know, the saying society makes man as well. So just encouraging them, the sisters, to attend talks helps as well.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, but the main key issue is the identity. So making sure that they have a better understanding of why they are Muslim, to have a proof of God understanding, so they can have a very clear understanding of their Creator, to have a very clear understanding that Islam is a guidance as a way of life, and it has taught man and women on how to conduct their affairs in life and in society. And I think when the individual is convinced as Islam as their way of life, then they will submit to Allah and His Messenger, inshallah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think a lot of times when we start following different cultures and whatever it is, even getting influenced by different religions and different ways of thinking, whatever they may be, like for example, feminism. Islam, we don't need feminism because the Prophet, peace be upon him, was the first man in those times to even speak up for women's rights. So your rights are taken care of as a Muslim, so you don't feel the need to turn to something else. But anyone who hasn't studied Islam, they are going to get confused by all the culture, and they won't know the difference between culture or Islam, and they won't know what Islam offers us and what it gives us, and that's why we start turning to different things just to avoid which Islam already fulfills. You know, Islam gives you a sense of identity, it gives you stability, protection. In Islam, it takes care of the house setting, hence we have marriage. You know, a lot of times people are selfish and they think, what's wrong with just having a boyfriend or, you know, messing about, but there is something wrong because number one, it's bad for you because you're going to start having attachment issues and relating issues, number one, psychologically. And secondly, if you have a child, who's taking care of that poor child? So Islam teaches us about taking responsibility and not being selfish about ourselves. But it's easy for us to look and think, oh, well, Allah says don't do this and it's good. But I can guarantee you there's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always says question and think and ponder. Because anything in the Quran, if you challenged it, there's a reason behind it, a benefit behind it. Like, you know, a psychological benefit, a social benefit, a political benefit, financial benefit, you name it. There's always a benefit and a wisdom behind it. There's nothing just random in the Quran. And just going back to parents, I think that's another thing. When you tell the kids to do something, you need to make sure there is some kind of benefit in there. Don't just tell the kids what to do and then say, oh, because I said so, because I'm the mom or the dad. I mean, it works for a while, and then when they hit teen years, they want an answer. And it's very selfish. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't put commands in the Quran randomly, then it doesn't matter who we are, what authority figure we are, but we don't have a right to just randomly give orders just because we feel like it.
Okay. I think that can therefore this whole issue of identity
Mhm.
will therefore help our children as well. That once they also know the identity of being a Muslim and they
Absolutely.
have a very
Bear
clear
in mind
understanding.
that kids, cognitively, when they learn via modeling, so they don't always learn what you tell them. They pick up a lot more. Most of what we learn is in our childhood, and it's from what we see happening around us. So we model behaviors. So obviously, if kids have been brought up by the parents don't have a sense of identity themselves, then obviously these children are going to go up not knowing what their identity is. So obviously they are going to get influenced by different gangs and cultures, etc.
Sister, just a quick advice. I've pulled my kids out of nativity play, Christmas activities, participation. I've told the school that learning about different religions is one thing, but I think it's unfair for a school to force or strictly highly encourage children to participate in rituals of other religions, whether it be Christmas, Easter, Diwali, Buddhism, Sikhism, whatever rituals they perform. I told them my children does not have to act and role play and sing their songs in order to have a better understanding of the religion. Um, First of all, from a Muslim point of view, this is haram. Um, to participate in any form of shirk is not something that Muslim children should do. And the second thing is, well, that is the main answer to the problems. Now, I've pulled my kids out of that. Sometimes I feel that my kids are not going to accept Christianity, for an example, in Christmas time because they are singing songs. Um, However, it's just that uncomfortable feeling that as a parent, that you know that your children are going to go to school and be the odd ones out. Even though we have a 95% Muslims that attend schools, like in Bradford and maybe some areas of Batley and Dewsbury, it's just a shame for me to see that probably I'll be the odd parent out to pull my kids out from such a activity play. Um,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's looking at the child thinking, are they going to be affected by that? So what I'm doing tomorrow is, for example, instead of them participating in the nativity play, I'm just taking them to Alphabet Zoo or something similar and let them know have a nice fun time. So I'm not taking away the fun aspect from a child, where they would be sitting all by themselves in a classroom doing work or just painting by themselves. Um, I'll rather go and do a different sort of activity with them. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's to so they don't get that psychological feeling of being left out completely.
No,
Because
I think that's brilliant. It's a very creative way of handling the situation because, like you said, if a child would start, it's easy to explain to a kid what's happening, but if the child feels they're on their own, even though it's a good thing, the child is still going to feel a sense of being on their own and feeling abandoned. And to bear in mind, kids feel emotions a lot more, like they feel them on a stronger level compared to us, because we understand that emotions. Kids don't, so it affects them a lot more. And I think it's a bit sad because you mentioned how, like, schools in Bradford, etc., the majority of the percentage of those children there are Muslim. There shouldn't be that issue because the parents should have same concerns anyway.
and the sad reality is, it's not like it's a must. It's not forced on your children. You can
Mm-hmm.
easily opt out from it. But many parents don't see the importance of such activities in school. You
Yeah, I
know,
think it just goes back to educating our own selves, really. Because, I mean, where are you going to draw the line? Like, because we do teach our kids what Islam is before they actually study the book. And like I said, they learn from the way we live our lives, really. We can't say to our kids that, this is what Islam is in the books, yet we say something completely different because we give our kids mixed messages and that just contributes to an identity crisis. And then we really wonder why we can't communicate with our kids or why our kids are so confused.
okay. Sister, this is another quick topic now. Now, going back towards parent and child, what good advice tips can you suggest to parents who have children from toddler age, like 2, 3, 4 years old, growing up to give them a good sense of tarbiyah, good sense of education as well. I know it's a very broad topic.
Um,
Um,
yeah, with children, they're usually very interactive. But when you're teaching your kids about Islam, instead of making it very book type of teaching, it's just day to day. It's the way you do everything. So basic things like making asking your kids at breakfast time like what the Dawah is, and letting them take it in turns to read it out because they like things like that. Showing them cartoons, and I don't know. It's just the way you play with them really. So you can teach kids a lot in a creative, fun way, and it's important to take advantage of that. Um, and also with kids, when you give them children don't need too much detail, but they do need to know why they can't do something. So if your child does something wrong, like an example is jumping up on a chair or something, then instead of constantly telling the child to sit down, you explain this, you say, we sit on the chair. And that's all you have to do really, just give some explanation if kids don't understand. And when we just tell kids what to do and what not to do, uh, children below the age 7 roughly, because of they're not cognitively fully function, they seem to think the world revolves around them, which is why kids tend to interrupt a lot, etc., and they don't understand a difference of opinion. So if you're just bossing them about and telling them what to do or not to do, they don't like it because they want that attention. So they want you to notice them and give an actual explanation why you want them to do what they do. And also once the kids hit teen years, that's when they don't need explanation. And I think as a society,
which age?
once they hit teen years, and I think the problem with us is with the younger kids, we just tell them what to do in a few words, and then we wonder why the child keeps repeating the same behavior. It's because they don't understand why it's wrong. And with the teenagers, you don't need to give the whole lecture. You just can say one or two words like, I don't know, something like homework or put your dishes in the sink, simple thing like that. But as parents, we can get mixed up, so we don't explain things to the children because we think, oh, they're just kids. But we actually want them to cooperate without giving them enough information, which is bizarre. And with the teenagers, we tend to give them really lengthy lectures when they don't need it. And then, do you understand? So we've kind of got it mixed up. It's meant to be the other way around. Give very specific instructions to younger kids and explain why they should stop what they're doing or do what you want them to do. And with teenagers, you should keep the instructions very, very simple and just to the point. Because as soon as you go on and on, your teenager just switches off,
Oh,
and then you wonder why you're just ignoring you. But it's because your voice is rambling on and you're giving too much information.
oh, is it? Maybe I give too much information then to the older ones. But what about when the children in general? What was the issue? The deputy head told me she was worried because okay, we were looking at antisocial behavior in the media and in the news. They recognize that England has a massive problem with antisocial behavior, disrespect. Children don't listen. They've got very little respect for the parents. Parents might ask a child to do something, the child will answer back. They talk rudely. Sometimes they don't even realize what they're doing is rudely. But even though you're explaining it to them, don't talk back. Um, don't answer back. And you explain to them what answer back is, and they tut and it's like, why is it in England compared to other states that antisocial behavior is completely out of the window? Especially like you're saying, when a kid hits towards the teens, they seem to be very want to be independent. Um, they don't want to have the mother father influence around them. Um, but the main problems you will find is that there's a lack of respect. There is um, there is lack of discipline. They don't want to actually do help around sometimes, or it's like a huff and a puff. You also have answering back issues, and sometimes treating other people wrongly, adults wrongly. These are some of the common things. I don't want to go into any details because that would be another story, but these are the common things that most people are finding today in most families. Now, why is that the case? Especially, like you said, if you rant on towards the children, you're just ranting on, even though you're trying to educate them. They don't want to listen. They don't like it. So you're trying to explain it to them, but they don't want to know. And then at the same time, when you do tell them a command, they ain't going to listen, or if they listen, it's always with a huff and a puff. and it's always irritating you and answering you back. Should parents be more sabr? What advice would you give um,
Yeah, I
as a
think the fact
counselor?
that kids don't they stop paying attention when you talk a lot. I don't think that's anything to do with them being evil or bad. It's the way it's just children when they hit teenage, you become more analytical, and you're trying to figure out your sense of identity. So if you've got someone talking to you, granted it's your parent who you respect, of course. Bearing in mind when kids do something, it's not because they want to be evil or disrespectful. They know it's wrong to talk in that way. So the question is, why would they still behave that way? What would make the child still answer back and get really disruptive? And a lot of times it is simple things like they want to be recognized as adults, and that's not really happening. So sometimes that could be the case. And when a parent is talking for like saying something they can say in 5 words, but they will go on for 15, 20 minutes, you're making the child feel like a retard, be like you're stupid, you're sick, here it is, I'm giving you the whole manual, I'm reading it out to you. So it's not a surprise that the child zones out. Also, according to the research, more people have less of a concentration span nowadays, and it is linked to a lot of the social media because everything's so fast. And everything happens just so quick. Like people, so you can message someone all the way in Australia within a minute, and they will respond to you. So we live in a time where everything's really, really quick. So if you're surrounded by people who are taking too long to talk, or it really frustrates people. And this is everyone, even grown-ups and younger ones. According to research, it's not specifically just teenagers. It's just there's a problem with concentration now because we're so used to everything happening so quick and so fast. Like, we order our food online, we book our tickets online for a train or a plane. We order our clothes, you can order food and it comes to your house the very same evening. But because we live in a world so quick and fast paced, and people have an issue when things are taking long. So I'm afraid we need to learn to be more patient. And obviously with teenagers, you can have a huge issue because the parents are taking too long talking. The kids like, I could have played a game and gone to the next level by now. They're thinking stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of understandable, really.
But
I
the
think
problem, the
also,
problem that you
okay,
face,
sorry.
the problem you face is though, the parents don't want. A lot of the time we don't tolerate nonsense. The kid is giving you a lot of nonsense. Is your advice therefore that the parents have to learn and have more patience, or should it be that it should be the kids should be listening?
No, I think it's a relationship here. So I don't think it's a kid must listen or the parents have every right to obey and to give the commands and be obeyed. It is a relationship, and I think a lot of times there's a sense of hierarchy. You see that and we see it with parents. Now I'm not saying as parents be passive, but I'm saying don't be aggressive either. So don't be the parent where you're like, oh, do what you wish and have no boundaries, because your kids are going to be grown ups one day. It's a bit like if a mum's always cleaning a child's bedroom and she's like, oh, well, I don't mind doing it. It's my son, he's my only son or whatever it is. But she needs to bear in mind that this boy one day is going to grow up and he's going to get married. Is his wife going to do exactly the same thing? So it's about kind of, as a parent, realizing that you have to set these boundaries so your kid learns about their own actions and consequences. Because one day this child's going to start doing assignments for university, the child's going to get a job, go for an interview, and find someone and get married. So depending on the kind of relationship this child has, all based on the kind of boundaries the parents set, it goes a very, very long way. So parents shouldn't be passive, but equally they shouldn't be military style aggressive because your kids will get rebellious. It doesn't work that way. It's about having a relationship where you have boundaries and communicate with your child. So if your child's not listening, figure out what it is. Is it the way maybe you tell your child to do something? Do you say it in a very demanding way? What is it that's going on? Or is it because the child's another need isn't being met? So the child's trying to get back at you. Because children don't know how to handle
What
emotions
happens
and
if
how to
it's just
react.
bad attitude?
The attitude could be also like the kind of friends they're hanging out with. So you'd have to, keep an eye on that as well.
But there's nothing you can do about that if it's from the school and if it's from the class, if it's from family or if it's from people on the street.
But this is what I mean. Like, there's so much a parent can do because there will always be these external influences. But I think as a parent, if you keep reinforcing their Islamic identity and you try to keep an eye on the people they're hanging out with, you can't ever control all. And that's something parents need to admit. You can't always control everything. It's impossible. But also like liaising with other parents and talking to teachers, and trying to, I don't know, like me and a friend, we did a few workshops on parenting. So, you know, you don't have to be a parent, it's just about as a community coming together and thinking, what can we do working together, like teachers, parents, relatives. Um, I mean, attitude, there's so many reasons, you know, it could be what is the child watching? You know, if you're always watching EastEnders, then what really happens on EastEnders? You know, they just cheat and, you know, I don't know, someone's stealing money or they're having an affair and the kids are answering their parents back. What do you think your kids picking up? What lessons are you teaching your kids? You know, I don't know, it's about thinking out of the box, really. Have you got the right environment in the first place? And like I said, some things you can't control, but it's just about when they happen, when your child gives you the attitude, maybe they'll never stop giving you attitude. Maybe that's just part of everyone growing up. So sometimes it's about accepting it, I'm going to get attitude. It's about what are you going to do when you get it? Are you going to be passive about it? Are you going to go crazy and really aggressive, or are you going to be calm and maybe take a luxury away or something, or remind your child that's the wrong behaviour?
Okay,
So some things
sister.
it's just about knowing they're going to happen, but just coming up with some interventions or strategies for when they do happen. This is how I will handle it. And if you be consistent, eventually that behaviour will disappear. And you know, like I said, communicate with the child. Why is the child behaving that way?
Fantastic. Sister, Jazakallah khair for all your advice. I've got some other people texting me. So we're gonna go on to it a bit more detail. We'd like to have you again on the show, inshallah, in the weeks
Inshallah.
to come, and we can hopefully benefit with your knowledge. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, barakallah feek. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. There you go, brothers and sisters. It can be tough. It can be a bit of a nightmare. If you want to give a call in, please do so. 01924472776. And brothers and sisters, this is about our children, raising our children up, giving them the best education possible, and dealing with some of the difficulties that us as parents face. Because sometimes parents are fighting each other because of the children. We need to be united together in order to give our children a better atmosphere in the household, so this will give them less negative effects in their life. You know, I've met I heard sisters talk sometimes, and they blame the mom and the dad for having a divorce. They blame the parents for the fighting that used to go on, and they would then go off and do their own thing, and you know they would then explain why they're doing zina, and while the mums and dads are always fighting, they're going through zina. They are they are their heads are messed up because they just want to run away from the problems that are going on in their household. So these are a lot of the issues that we can face. We have another caller on the line. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. You okay, brother?
Yes, sister, Jazakallah khair, alhamdulillah. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Fantastic. You've been hopefully listening to this show. What would you like to contribute in?
I just like to say that I believe the way children are from a young age will kind of like put you in the right direction, if you understand. Like children, when they're born, obviously they learn everything through the mother and the father, and as they're growing up, they are like sponges. Children are like sponges. Whatever they see, they will do.
Okay.
Like I've got a daughter, and I always used to pray in front of her when she was about 2 years old. A few times she got out the musalla, put it down, put on a dobi, and started reading the man, just doing the action. Why has she done that? It's because she's seen me do it.
Alhamdulillah.
So to build a very strong relationship and a bond is through when they're younger.
So when they're younger, you just build a very tight relationship, a tight bond, and that way the child will start to imitate. But that's when they are at home. Sorry, sister, what is your background?
I'm a Pakistani.
No, sorry, work-wise.
Oh, work ground. I'm a family support worker.
Okay, fantastic. So you've got some background knowledge that you can hopefully share with us. Okay, so now a child can imitate you at home, but what do you do in a situation where there's a clash in schools, or outside environments where kids are now swearing, kids liking the opposite gender at young ages, from year 4 onwards. Children will also imitate their environment and surroundings in school. Now it's not only about the home, the kid is now imitating things that happen in school. And as you know, a lot of things that happen in school or in the streets are very messed up nowadays. So
Hmm.
what's your advice then on that one? Because at home is one thing, outside is a different thing.
Well, I think to build that trust, and as they grow older, you explain to them, this is why Muslims don't do this because it's wrong in Islam. It says this, this, and this. So if you have that understanding and that relationship and that bond with your child, you can then say, oh well, in Islam, this is the reason why we don't, celebrate Christmas. But obviously, if you're sending your children to state schools, well, then well, just expect them to learn about Christianity and all the other religions, and obviously now celebrating Christmas. And like you said, with your own children, they've got like a Christmas party. Now, if you're going to send them to state schools, well, you need to expect that. But obviously, if you bring them home and they're coming home and they're telling you all about Christianity and about Christmas and so on, what you can do is, okay, that's fine, fair enough. But in Islam, this is what Islam teaches us. So you as a parent can always, turn the table round.
Good. Does that always work, or do you think is that the best way to do it?
Well, like I said, if you have that bond from a young age, a very strong foundation with your child, you have that trust and, and also respect one another, then I don't see it being a problem with really, to be honest.
So you're saying to get that bond, to get that respect, you have to have that relationship from the young age. Now, problem is, a lot of dads are working. A lot of dads do 10-hour, 12-hour shifts in general. The minimum is 8 hours. By the time they come home after traveling from work, it's a 9 to 10 hours in total. So they are away a lot of the time. They've only got very little bondship time with their children. Um, some dads haven't even been around. They'll suddenly they might want to come and be part of the kid's life. So how do you get that relationship and that bondship?
So
And
that's
I'm
true.
sure that many parents that you've gone and seen in home visits, etc., may be going through such difficulties where fathers are not even involved in the household so much. Can a mother do it all by herself? How do you get how you did mention creating that bondship, but what happens if that bondship was not there in the beginning, or let's say, for example, the bondship is very weak? How do you strengthen it?
How do you strengthen it is by making time. We spend most of our life, like the dad, they spend most of their life, working, but really we're getting so engrossed in work, making money, supporting our families, which, I can totally understand. But really, why are we on this dunya? Is it to work 8-hour shifts, come home late, go straight to bed, not see your children? What is the whole purpose of us being on this dunya? This is not the real life. The real life is the afterlife. So working 8-hour shifts every day, that's the father's choice.
But he has to provide for his family. Most jobs, you have to work 8-hour, 9-hour shifts anyway. That's just standard. You have no choice in that matter. If you want to bring the bread and butter home and to look after and pay for the bills, you ain't gonna have a choice but to do that.
Which is totally understandable. But as a parent, how your child is the way you molded them in a way.
True.
So how you want your child to be, that is what they will be, is how you mold them to be. If you don't want them to pray, you won't pray yourself, will you? You can't expect your children to start reading their namaz when they can turn around and say, well, hang on a minute, if you're not reading your namaz, why should I read mine?
True, very true. So you have to set the examples in at home.
Almost definitely. And like I said, from a young age, if you build that that bond and that strong foundation, that build that trust, then inshallah, you'll be fine. And just by making a bond, you don't need to, go out on fancy trips. It's just these little things, 5 minutes before bedtime, sitting together reading a book
Yeah, I agree
like
with you
that.
on that
Yeah,
as well. Sometimes that's a good point. What is the best way to build bonds? Because sometimes you're right. Some people want to do trips around the world, spend lots of money on clothes, spend lots of money on toys. That is not really how to build that relationship, is it? It's
no,
about providing more
not.
quality time, is it?
Yeah, quality time. I mean, like nowadays, moms, if they're working or if they've got quite a lot of children, they're always worrying about the house, doing the cooking, doing the ironing. But what's really important is they get that input from home. They might be getting it from school, but what's really, at school, in the state schools, you've got one teacher and one assistant, and you've got about 30, 40 children. Are they going to get that one-to-one? No, they're not. They're going to get that at home. So that's 5, 10 minutes, even if it's just before bedtime, that is crucial to make that bond stronger and to build on it and act on it.
So, what advice would you therefore give to women who have lots of children? It can become very stressful for them psychologically. It can be very worrying. I see people with only 2 or 3 children and they're stressing, especially when their gaps are a lot closer together. What advice, as a family support worker, would you give to a mother or a mother and her husband um, with plenty children?
I'd say is make a routine, have a routine set in place. At this time we're going to do this, and at this time we're going to do this. And the mother shouldn't worry about housework, because I've been in quite a lot of homes, and it's just all about the cleaning, making the house spick and span. Is that what really matters? Is that what's really, really important? What's your priority? Your children or your housework? Your house looking clean and tidy? Eventually it's going to get messy again. You're just going to have to clean it again. But this time with your children is really, really important. And I believe that children act best and, work better around routines, because they will know what to expect. They know at 6:30 it's bath time. They will know at 7 o'clock it's going to be story time, and they look forward to it. And also, when it comes to story time, it's not always the parent reading to the child can read to the parent. That way you are promoting independence and boosting their self-esteem to read a book and to build on that confidence. So it's not always the parent always doing everything. Give your child tasks to do as well. It's not always you running around after them, making the dinner. For instance, a good example is for like breakfast. If you want breakfast in the morning and you want a slice of toast, oh, okay, you want a slice of toast, that's fine. I'll put a slice of bread in the toaster. And what you can do is you can spread the butter on yourself. So it's promoting that independence. So when they get older, they will know how to make their own breakfast, and inshallah one day they will make breakfast for you. So it's
Inshallah, in my
also
household,
building on their self-confidence and the self-esteem.
let me tell me what you think. In my household, I get the young kids. They have to focus on themselves. So when they come in, they know they have to take the coat off. They can't hang it because the peg is too high. So they will come to an adult to say, "Can you put the coat up for me, please?" Which they do. They put their shoes. They know where to take the shoes off as they enter the house. They go straight upstairs to get changed. They've got that routine in place. Not all of them, but my little Hannah does. The others a bit young to do that. But she's an example at least for the other ones because they like to imitate each other, right? When they finish their food, they know they have to sit in the kitchen. Sometimes now I'm going to slowly start telling them really to put the plate in the sink. So these are my little chores I like to give them to do. If they take all the toys out, make sure to put the toys back in the box that they've got it from. Because I want them to take responsibility of looking after their own belongings. So sometimes if I see their toys on the floor, I'll be like, "Oh, is this toy gonna go in the bin?" Because I like chucking things in the bin, which is on the floor, and they know straight to say no, and they will pick it up and they will go and put it away, laughing. because I want them to know that things that are left on the floor is dirty, it's messy, and we have to pick them up, otherwise it goes in the bin. Um, what do you think?
Well, I think that's a really good little routine that you've got for your daughter, because she knows when she comes in, shoes off, coat off, and is it straight upstairs to go get changed?
That's right, yeah.
Yes, because she's in that routine, so she knows when she gets in from that door, she knows she's got to take her shoes off, her coat off. So being in a routine, the child will know what to expect, what's going to come next, and also, giving your children chores to do will give them pride in what they do as well.
Okay, but what's the general things then parents should be doing with their children on a weekly basis? If you look at the whole week where a child goes to school Monday to Friday, they go in madrasas now, which personally I think madrasas are way too long. 2 hours for a child is too much. Um, the people who go private madrasas one on one, the girl that called up earlier, she's an alima. She used to teach as well. You know, you can do a 2 hour madrasa for half an hour per child. That's all it's actually needed. But because obviously we're chucking them into madrasas are full of girls, lots of kids in the school, that does pile up to about 20, 30 in a class easily. Average is about 30. And that's taking up 2 hours of our kids' time in school. My son, for an example, has a low concentration span. For 35, 40 minutes, he has to read 2 lines of the Quran again and again and again for about 30 minutes. The teacher then shouts at him sometimes and tells him off, "You're not reading." I told the teacher, how is he going to be? He's going to be bored reading the same 2 lines for half an hour. But that's because the teacher has to go through everybody else's works, subject one by one. Um, so personally, I think it is too long. 2 hours for a child to go to madrasa, it's not needed. It's torture, if you ask me. However, that is how a lot of things are nowadays. We can't always afford everything privately. School, madrasa, what else should be done at home?
Well, I personally think is before bedtime, that 5-10 minutes, that one-to-one input will inshallah, build up on your child's relationship, because obviously if they're going to school in the morning, they're coming home, quickly eating, getting changed, off to go to madrasa. What time have they got with their family, with their mummy or their daddy or their siblings? Not much really, apart from the weekends. And the weekends, it's always getting the chores done, getting the children, sorted. But that 5-10 minutes input before bedtime is, well, I personally think is really, really important. And you can also just talk about, also, what have you enjoyed doing today at school or in madrasa? What have you learned today? Has anything happened? Are you okay? So it's also just building that trust that they can tell you anything without thinking, oh my God, my mum's going to shout at me or my dad's going to say something. It's just building that trust.
Should a child, though, have that sense of fear as well when they do things wrong, that daddy might shout at you?
Yeah, because they because they obviously have that respect, won't they? And they'll have that, of course. They'll have the fear if they do something wrong. They might just get a smack off their dad, and then I think.
Is that against the law, by the way, as a family support worker? If a dad wants to give a gentle smack or the mother wants to give a gentle smack to a child, by law, is that against the law, or you're not even allowed to touch them? I'm talking about light, obviously, I'm not talking about a smack.
I think, well, no, that's a no.
What's the no?
Smacking your children, because that's obviously, you're hurting your child.
Even if it's very gentle, not to hurt them.
I mean,
like a little tap on the hand to acknowledge that I've given you a tap. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't sting. It's a little tap on the hand and say, "Look, yo, that was wrong."
I mean, like, all parents have different views and opinions on the subject about smacking.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the law. Would I, as a parent, if I gave I'm not sure if you're watching it on YouTube, but if my daughter did something wrong and I went like that to my daughter, would that be against the law? But could I get in trouble for doing that?
Well, you might have a child protection case against you if it's seen, or if your child tells that the school teacher, then obviously it could get quite serious. You just doing that one little tap, and your child has that fear of you, and then of course, if the child goes to school, tells the teacher, then there you go. Social services can get involved,
Ah, crazy
and
stuff, man.
yeah.
Crazy
Because
stuff.
I've got a nephew, and we were just playing, messing around, and he's about 10, and I don't know what happened, and I've got a bit, cross because he did something wrong, and then he saw that smack there, that's child abuse. That's what he said. So in these state schools, that's what they're teaching them. Even if just, like you just said yourself, a little tap, that's child abuse, because that's what they're drilling into the head. So as
Subhanallah.
a parent, just be, aware of this.
That's a shame, man. It's a shame. I know. I seen a girl in Bradford, and her husband wanted to give her a divorce and recorded the mother smacking the child when the child did something wrong. He showed it to the court case because he wanted custody over the children when they were having a divorce, and the court in Bradford took away all three children away from the mother, and the children not allowed to see the mother. They had to do that in gradual stages, so seeing the mother every day, to a few days of the week, then once a week, then once a fortnight, till it came complete zero. Now the deep thing is because of a smack, even if it was a hard smack, the fact is she separated now for about 2 years. She got remarried. She had a child. Stubborn because she knew that there's going to be consequences. The day she gave birth, the social service took the child away from the baby, from the mother. And that's another argument, but we're living in crazy times where, these issues are parents, some mothers have to go through very harsh difficulties because of parents, the government's taking away parents, children from their parents. I even met a guy today in school, and he wasn't able to have children with his wife and his second wife. So he's tried twice with two different women, not able to have children. So he ended up looking after his nephews. He's got five of them to look after. Again, same situation. Um, I know I've gone off the topic a little bit, but sister, the importance of having that bondship. So you're saying after school, after madrasa, let the kids play around, do whatever they want to do, but give them that special bondship before they go to bed.
That's correct. That one-to-one, because that is really, really important. If you want your child to respect you and respect, the boundaries, and like there's somebody texts you about advice on the hijab. Now, what you need to do with your child is build that relationship, build that bond, so they have that trust in you, so they can come to you and say anything, because obviously as a parent, if your child's getting bullied or whatever, you want your child to come up to you and tell you. If the child doesn't have a bond with the parent, that ain't gonna happen. But if you've got that strong bond, that strong foundation from a young age, inshallah you'll be fine. But before bedtime, yes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even if you squeeze 5 minutes in, make that time. You don't have to read a book. My little girl gives me all these big long books. I don't read them all. Just look at the pictures. You don't need to read the words. Like these Pakistani mums who can't read. That's fine. You don't have to read the words. You can look at the pictures, make up your own story. But just at 5 minutes before bedtime, you don't have to read a book. Just talk about, so how has your day been? What would you like to do on the weekend? And just build that bond and build that relationship.
What kind of kids should children be doing in their free time at home? They've come back from school, they've come back from madrasa. Let's say they finish madrasa about 6 o'clock. Well, most schools they have madrasa between 4 and 6, and the other one is from 6 till 8. So they will finish about 6 o'clock. I know yours finishes at 4, luckily. But most of the other schools, they finish school at 3 o'clock. By the time they get home, it's 3:30. Have something quick to eat. Madrasa starts about 4:15. They finish at 6 o'clock. Now, should children go to bed early, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, or is it okay for them to go to bed by 9 o'clock?
And I think if you've got a routine planned out, then you need to follow that routine. But I mean, like if you're waking up at like 7:30 the next in the morning to get ready for school and so on, 9 o'clock in the evening going to bed, I think that is pushing it. Because obviously your child, well, depending on the age of the child, they need at least 12 hours sleep. Like my little girl, I'll put her to bed at 7, and she'll wake up the next morning at 7. So I know that she needs her sleep.
Your child
But
goes to
obviously,
bed
when they
at
come back from
7.
madrasa, then I mean, well, what I would do is just sit down with my child and just talk about, forget about the washing, forget about the cooking, forget about the cleaning, push everything to a side and sit down with your child and make that bond. Because that bond will be there when they're older, they'll have that trust in you. So it's about, sitting together, drawing pictures, whatever they like doing. Maybe if they like, well, nowadays children like games, like iPads and tablets, maybe give them, you could play for 15 minutes and then we'll have a chat about what you've done today, or, have a bubble bath and get ready for bed.
Mm-hmm. And what about, last question, sister? I've taken a lot of your time. What about educating our children at a younger age? What advice would you give on education in reading, maths? Is that something that parents should be doing on a daily basis, or is it something they should do once a week, or should they just leave it to the school teachers?
Well, now you see, these state schools, like I've said, is just have one teacher and one assistant, 30 kids. They ain't going to get that one-to-one. But you will know what your child will learn at school when they come home to ask your child, well, what have you done today? So you've got a rough idea what they're focusing on, what they're talking about, what the work is about. So at home, you can reinforce it. So you can do, for instance, adding up. You can make sums at home and you can sit alongside your child and try to build on that. Nowadays, on the Amazon and eBay, you can get for like £3 you can get a packet of sums, and they look like fun, and they're really, really child friendly is the word. And also the madrasa side, what you can do is you can buy posters nowadays with the qaida, with all the letters on. My little girl, she is 5, and she can write the qaida, but most of the qaida are out from memory. She doesn't need to look at it. And that's just by looking at it every day when I'm brushing her hair, and we'll talk about what comes after ayn, the line, what comes after, and she'll look, and she's absorbing it in, she's taking it in by what she's seeing. Some children learn visually, whereas some children learn through writing. So it's just about knowing your child, what are the strengths and the weaknesses, and on the weaknesses is what we need to focus on.
And on Saturday, Sunday when there's no school?
Saturday, so that's well, I bet most parents like to have lie-ins, but my little girl doesn't like to have a lie-in, so she's up and ready to go at 7 o'clock. But yeah, like I said, just to promote that independence, like on the weekend, my little girl, she likes to have a bowl of cereal. So I'm not going to get up just to go downstairs and make a bowl of cereal and off the milking. So on a few occasions, I said, well, you go downstairs and you go make it. Mummy's feeling a bit tired. So she's gone downstairs, got a bowl, poured in the cereal, got the milk, poured it in and ate it and come upstairs. So by just making little movements, little steps, she is now able to make her own breakfast. Obviously, I wouldn't say to her, I will go make a slice of toast, because obviously I need to be there supervising her. But like on weekends, it's just trying some activities to do and focus on the weaknesses in your child's curriculum, what they're lacking on, and just making it fun as well.
Okay, fantastic, sister. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah.
Yeah, and another thing is,
Go on. Yeah.
another thing is what lots of children like to do is, well, some children don't have an opportunity because the mums are always in the kitchen, is baking, cooking, helping the mums. I mean, what is really quick and easy is a box of cereal, it could be Rice Krispies, and the baking chocolate, melt the chocolate, and let the children make crispy buns, and it's so easy and so quick. And
Is your child a messy child?
Oh, 50-50. It's 50-50. She loves the painting though.
Okay, mashallah, alhamdulillah. Okay, sister, jazakallah khair for your call. May Allah bless you, and we will speak soon, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu
Wa
alaikum.
alaikum salam. Okie dokie, we've had two great callers giving us some good advice, some of them personal, about life here in UK, raising up our children, talking about bondship, strengthening our relationship with our children. It's very, very important, brothers and sisters. Like Sister Halima said, we shouldn't be nagging on our children. Give them good explanation to young children so the children understand why you're giving them certain commands for the children. Now, this is advice from me who get older, not to rant on a lot, not to blah, blah, blah them and lecture them, because that's something that the kids do not want to hear. They're very capable of taking answers in a very short form, and they can get on with it, inshallah. The second caller, Sister Sophia, then mentioned about the importance of having good quality time with your children and having that as a priority over, for mothers especially, having that as a priority over your household chores. It can be very difficult with people who have more children. At night time is to have that one-on-one bond, so making sure you're putting them to sleep, and asking them about the day, how it went. This is when a child has better remembrance of what's going on, because it's the last thing they hear before they go to sleep. And you're going through your drawers and your kalimas, and just so reading a story is better for the child to read to the parent if possible. If the children can't read, then it's parents reading to the children, even if it's just showing pictures. And make their own story up as they go along. So building that relationship with your child, having patience with your children, having a balance between hope and fear. That's exactly the same for us as adults when we're thinking about akhirah. We fear when we do something haram, but we have hope that Allah will forgive us so we can go to Jannah, inshallah. Is having the balance of having, you have to have fear in your life, because that's what will put you back onto the straight path. And you also have hope that Allah is going to give you Jannah, inshallah. And so you never lose hope in Allah, and you always have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So likewise, it's the same goes for the children. Children should know that if they're doing something wrong, the parents will have that, like Sister Halima mentioned, the boundaries are there, so children can have um, they know what is right, what is wrong. They will have fear when they do something wrong, and at the same time they have that hope knowing that mum and daddy still loves me, mummy and daddy care about me, mummy and daddy still will look out for me, and I can turn to them. Just like we hope that we can turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our children should be able to turn to their parents at this young age and to have that good strengthened relationship and bond. We should also have patience with the children getting older, mixed in today's crazy world, crazy society, you know, and is trying to have that balance. There's so much influence around us from other family members, from the streets in the hood that we live in the schools that we come from. Primary schools are a lot more easier, but when it comes to secondary schools, I know parents whose kids are getting dashed out from all the schools. They're getting sacked left, right, and center. They put the kid in that school. He gets into fight, get into that school, selling drugs, get into that school, womanizing. Then where do they end up going? Into Islamic schools. So now dropouts end up going into Islamic schools, and these jokers end up going and corrupting the whole kids inside Islamic schools at times. So you're never gonna hide from it. But at the same time, like Sister Sophia did say, have a good relationship with your child, so your child will take on board the information that you have to give with them. And there's more love there is, and the more respect they have, the more likely they're going to listen in what you're going to have to say, inshallah. So that's a good advice for myself, inshallah. I think me personally, I want to be a bit personal. is to give that attention more. Sometimes I think I'm giving ever too much, but I'm trying to get that balance. I like to put my kids to bed like before I came through, check my kids, put them to bed. Tomorrow I'm taking them out and about to have a bit of fun with them in the morning. Um, and making sure I go over some of the work that they do. Have to give my wife a hand because it's obviously 6 kids is quite a lot for her to deal with by herself. So it's taking that sharing role responsibility. Um, I find it a bit difficult because I'm not an indoor person. If you know, I'm more of a outdoor, and I've always been an outdoor football, gym, whatever it may be. But it's trying to have the balance that you have to not sacrifice completely other things, but getting that balance in your life where you can do talk shows, you can have a time with your wife in the evening. Like I told my wife, put the kids to bed at 7 o'clock. I mean, you can be chilling till 10 o'clock at night, for example. So by the time I finish this show, I've got an extra 1 hour to chill before I hit the bed. So you can have time with your wife, you can have time doing other activities, you have some time in your daily life working. Like Sister Sophia said, it's very good to have a routine. When you have that routine, stick to that routine. A lot of us don't like sticking to a timetable, sticking to a routine. That's bad discipline of ourselves. We have to get that discipline sorted out. And once you get used to that routine, then inshallah everything will flow nicely. Everything will flow nicely. Um, so inshallah, um, things will get better. Things will get better for all those people out there who have children, who are struggling to look after their children. Get yourself into a routine. Get yourself listening. And hey, this is another important factor. Like Sister Halima says, the parents are like a role model. They're like sponge. The children will soak up that water. The way you behave, the way you are inside your house, their kids will imitate a lot in what you have to say, especially in the actions that you carry out and do. So please, let's try. And it's hard. It's hard for myself. It's hard to bring a change. Sometimes we're trying to be better parents because of our children. It's our children that has woken us up. It's our children that has made us think that we have to do things sometimes better in life to set a better example to them. So we have to try to create a better example for our children. So, like Sister Halima says, when it's time for a party, how do I dress up? For a girl, for an example, how does a boy dress up and attend parties? Um, and we're talking about, are we going to go to haram parties or halal parties? When we go on a holiday, how do we? My wife's sister, is very tempted, very big pressure. You go to a complete different country, so a woman who wears a hijab and jilbab will feel very insecure, very uncomfortable. A lot of the time, our duty as men is to provide that security and comfort to the women. I mean, a woman knows that their man is by their side and their man is there with them. Um, Putting on the hijab and jilbab again in a very odd atmosphere environment makes it a lot and very, very easier for them. So, how do we behave when we go out and about on the streets, in the work, in our school? All of these things our children will want to imitate. So how we are is how they will imitate. If we swear, they swear. We take off a hijab, they take off the hijab. If we fight, they fight. If we're rude, they are rude. If we're disrespectful, they are disrespectful. So we always have to remember whatever we're doing. If you're not going to change for yourself, at least change for your children. At least stop the nagging, stop the fighting, stop the hitting, whatever arguments are taking place, let's try to make a change for our children so they can grow up in a better atmosphere, better household. Like I said before, the sisters called in, a girl was talking to me about her problems in her as growing up as a child, 14, 15. She ended up having boyfriends, or a boyfriend, sleeping around. Parents were always arguing and they were just fed up, never very trusting. And and women can be very vulnerable, and the advantage men can take advantage out of girls. And they put it to the side, and it's all done and dusted. It was back in the days. Question is, it still happened. These are some of the effects that can happen to children when parents or guardians are behaving in a very bad manner towards each other. Your children psychologically will get messed up. Your children will feel it. They want that attention elsewhere. They want that comfort elsewhere. They just don't want to hear the arguments. They just want to be at peace. They want to run away sometimes. And that's where danger will come in. That's when shaitan will prey on you. Shaitan will come towards you, and shaitan will slowly, step by step, unintentionally for you, intentionally by him, to guide you towards because he doesn't want you on that straight path. He wants you away from that straight path. The road, if it's straight, he would want you to make a little mud track to make it go divert it, so the path becomes like this. And one day you realize you're so far away from Islam. Don't allow shaitan to do that. Shut off all the evil doors that are out there. It ain't easy, but let's try to do it at least for our children, knowing, because all of this is for Allah at the end of the day. We do it out for our children, so our children can get closer to Allah. And we're going to be going through pressure. You got some parents out there, they're single parent. We do not know when death's going to come. What happens if Allah decides to take you away tonight? What happens if you're going to work and you're rushing off to work and the car comes and hits you? Death can come at any time. What's going to happen to your child? So always make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah will bless our children and Allah will look after our children and guide our children, because our children don't need me, our children don't need you. We have a responsibility of taking away. We have to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to look after our children, and we pray that Allah will look after all those people who are trying to do for their children, that if anything does happen towards their parents, that Allah will look after them. Even if He's given them another mother and a father that will do them just, that do them wrong. I am sad to know of Muslims who have gone through messed up times, yeah, and their innocent, young, beautiful Muslim children are being fostered by non-Muslims. I was talking to a family today where, because of donuts fighting and have been abusive towards each other, they can't, they're not, their children have been taken away from them. Their children who are Muslim, yeah, are now being looked after by non-Muslim families. This guy was talking about the headache that he has to deal with of alcohol and partying. He said a complete haram life. He has to. He said it took him 8 months to get his own nephews and nieces to get used to his the own uncle. 8 months. He said it's a very slow, gradual change. He has to help his nephews and his nieces. The government has taken it away. To get the paper to look after children is another nightmare in itself. He has to be very careful because they're not his own children until the full right of guardianship has been given towards him. He can then be a lot more of a parent towards them. So he is treading on very gentle ground at the moment. Is very fragile, and the last thing he wants is for the government to take a job from him, you know. And it's sad. It's sad, wallahi adim, it's sad. So please, brothers and sisters, whilst we are alive, parents, if you are listening, let's try to make a very good bondship. Children, if you're listening with your parents, listen to your mother and your father. They love you and they're trying to do everything for you. They want to do so much good for you. They might not have the best style to communicate to you. They might not have the best means to communicate towards you. But deep down in their heart, they love you. They care for you. If they shout at you, it's because they love you. If they hit you, it's because they love you. If they're angry with you, it's because they love you. You see, when you care for somebody, you show it. When you don't care for somebody, yeah, you want a club, you want a party, yeah, was it fun? Yeah, what did you get up to? Really? Astaghfirullah. Man, that was, you're a funny guy. Okay, they don't care what you get up to. They make you feel cool, they make you feel comfortable. But somebody who cares about you and you tell them you're going clubbing, you're going partying, you got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, they'd be like, what? No, what's wrong with you, man? Get out of here, man. Go and do a astaghfirullah, man. Don't hang around with me. I ain't got time to listen to your rubbish. Makes you feel uncomfortable. You don't want to feel uncomfortable. You don't like to take criticism. You don't like anything negative coming in your face. You understand? So you're gonna go and seek comfort. So you want someone to say, "Yeah, man, you've got a girlfriend, smashed it. You've got a boyfriend, that's cool, man. If your dad's got a problem with you, there are service centers out there, man, and the government will look after you against your father. You know, you have the right. They say you have the right to go and have a boyfriend. And if you want to have a boyfriend and you want to marry that Christian guy out there, your dad can't force you. And if he says anything, we've got the government on your side. You're protected. You understand? And it happens. These things happen, brothers and sisters. These things unfortunately happen. We're going to be calling it up at the end of the day. Please do give me your feedback at Youth Talk Dawah. We're going to be talking next week again, a highlight of marriage. Don't forget, we have a brother Hassan from Birmingham, established guy looking for a second marriage. Just to let you know, brother Hassan, not sure if you listened to today's show. Apparently, there's a website for about second wives in London. Um, I haven't checked it out. I heard about it. Somebody WhatsApped it to me when I was abroad in Lebanon last week to do some humanitarian aid. So there is a website out there that our sisters actually don't mind being second wives. So they've advertised themselves. I have to speak to my friend in Scotland who knows a sheikh, who knows all about what's going on. So I have no idea about it. So this sounds like good news, sisters out there who don't mind being second wives or who are looking. Um, and this is fantastic news. So inshallah, I'll be able to help you guys out on that, maybe on next week's show. Apart from that, brothers and sisters, jazakallah here for listening. We hope that you do enjoy it. Do like us on Youth Talk Dawah on Facebook. The number of my personal number, in case you want to WhatsApp us any messages or texts, is 0788 6624 888. That's 0788 6624 888. Do like us again on Facebook. Send us a text, send us a WhatsApp of things that you're looking for. Either you yourself are looking to get married, you may know of other people looking to get married. You've got some questions that you might want to be talking about in next week's show. Just let us know and we'll take it from there, inshallah. All mistakes are from me. May Allah forgive me for any of the mistakes that I have made. And we send our blessings on Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And inshallah, we can help you find a spouse and get married. Assalamu alaikum.